One of the things that we've been increasingly trying to do is spotlight and bring a lot more of the younger generation into learning and understanding how Mojaloop and the ecosystem works, so that we can sustainably grow the pool of talent and skills that are available to you to deploy, customize, and use Mojaloop. Right. I have the privilege of running the very last session before we close. So I promised I will get you out of here by 12:30 at the latest. I intend to keep that promise. We are a pretty big community, and we have achieved a lot over the last 5 years. I remember when I joined the foundation, the very first, the community was mostly made up of techies, and these meetings that we have here were very technical. In fact, I remember a specific slide in mind, but that's a story for another day. And over the years, we've done a bit of work to bring more of the market's voice, that is the adopters, into our community. And we have tried our best to raise the level of engagement and the voice of that particular segment of our community here. We've also grown the number of people who are technically proficient in Mojaloop through a couple of initiatives like the Mojaloop training program, the accelerator program, the hub operator capacity building program, and so on and so forth. And I think those of you who have been in this community for a little over 3 years are starting to notice the difference and the benefits on how everybody has participated. So we continue to develop the community in a couple of ways. I want to highlight a couple of them here that are relevant to this group. And I'll start by work streams. As most of you know, I'm not sure if most of you know, but you should know that the community is run by a community council. The community council is basically your representatives in the decision-making organ of the Mojaloop community. And this year, they worked pretty hard on making our work streams run better. And how do we do that? Paul Makin highlighted some of them in his presentation earlier. But they published a document. There's a link on Community Central. And there are a few things that we want to make sure we've changed to make sure our work streams run better. The work stream is the most basic unit and the most foundational unit of the entire Mojaloop community. Everything we do is organized and is organized in a work stream and is championed by people like you who are passionate about identifying something and getting it through the finish line. So what have we done to tweak these work streams to make them better? We now have a workstream leads call. It's not just for workstream leads. This is public. It happens once a month, I believe, every last Thursday of the month. And this is where you get a quick snapshot of what's happening across the entire community and what progress is being done, and how and where workstream leads and community members can raise concerns or raise up their hands and say, I want to contribute to that and make sure that that gets over the finish line. Following these workstream leads call, we are now publishing the workstream dashboard and the roadmap every month. So every single month, we will now have a new version of the workstream dashboard and roadmap. So even if you miss that call, or even if you're sitting in a meeting somewhere and you're wondering what's going on in Mojaloop world, these two documents, which will be published on our documentation pages and on Community Central, will give you a quick snapshot of where things currently stand. So those of you who are depending on the community members to get some items done in order for your deployments or the features that you're waiting for to come out, you'll get a sense of where things are, and you will be able to raise your hand and raise any concerns with that particular group. We now have statuses for work streams, so you will know at any time if a work stream is active, inactive, on check, on hold or if it's closed. Just to give you a sense of the level of activity. And we're doing this so that we can work as openly as possible. You don't have to wait for convenings or send me an email to find out what's happening. All this information is public on Community Central. That's community.mojaloop.io. You can always go there and see what's happening. And in the coming weeks and months, you'll see a few more additions there that enable you to see from a glance at any time what's happening in Mojaloop world. And you're able to get insights on how that might affect you. The other thing the Community Council worked on is the contribution acceptance guidelines. The text is published on Community Central. And this has to do with accepting software that has been developed outside the normal processes we have of Mojaloop, and people would like to donate it. Now, this week, I think you've seen a number of demos from the Wired-In folks and RSwitch, from, I think, Paces. These are softwares or these are tools that were built to be used with Mojaloop, but were built outside the processes that we currently have for software development in the community. James spoke about that a little bit yesterday on his session on risk in risk management in the engineering process. Now, we do encourage adopters. Many of you have asked your system integrators for specific or specialized modules or additions or customizations. For the benefit of all, please consider contributing them back to the Mojaloop Foundation. There are a couple of advantages of that. One, you directly improve the value of Mojaloop by contributing your extensions and your customizations. If they solve your problems, they're probably solving another deployer's problems, another adopter's problems. Two, you have the entire community that is now able to take up this piece of software that you've contributed back and improve greatly on it. So you may be working 3 to 5 people in your small team, but with the Mojaloop community, you've got a whole lot more people who would be willing to work with you to continue to improve and maintain that particular tool. So how does this work? And I'm particularly talking to the adopters in the room who have already mandated or asked for customizations. All you need to do is raise your hand, send us an email and say, hey, we have this particular tool we would like to give to you, back to the Mojaloop Foundation. We'd like to donate back to the Mojaloop Foundation. It will first go to the product council, where the product council will check if that software is valuable, if there's a product market fit, and they'll also just try and ascertain its benefit or its value to the Mojaloop ecosystem. If they think the contribution you're making is amazing and is of benefit to the community, they will give it a thumbs up. And when they give it a thumbs up, it goes to one or two community governance groups, the design authority. The design authority will do a code review, a design review, and the change control board will do an API review. So if your contribution has an API attached to it, that will go to the change control board, that's the governance body that's responsible for governing all the changes around all the APIs in the Mojaloop ecosystem. They will go and do reviews, both code and design architectural reviews. They will also check for any technical debt. Now, if these two groups give it a thumbs up and they say, yeah, this is great, it will go to the technical governing board, which is the governing board of the Mojaloop Foundation, the legal entity, and the two groups will give a recommendation to the TGB. They will say, hey, dear TGB members, we have received this contribution. We have looked at it. We think it's great. We recommend that you, one, either adopt it or you decline it. So if it's great, they'll recommend to the TGB that we'd like the TGB to approve its adoption. The TGB that sits once a month will take a look at it, and if they think it's great, they will give it a thumbs up. If they agree, at that point, it is considered that that piece of software that you contributed is now a formal part of the Mojaloop software stack. Now, once a TGB has given its thumbs up, it goes back to the product council, and the product council goes through its motions. It will build a product backlog. That's when they'll decide what new features need to be added, what new fixes need to be made, all that stuff, make sure it's all public and good. They will see if it can fit in the roadmap. You've seen a version of that process here that Paul Makin has led. And then they will even, if necessary, they will form a work stream. They will form a work stream. And that work stream will be responsible for the continued development of that piece of software. So I want to make a very specific call. We have seen lots of great progress on lots of different tools that are meant to work with Mojaloop, but are not already part of the formal Mojaloop software stack. It is our invitation at this point, my request and invitation, that you consider with those who mandated the development of that software, that you contribute it back. If you do choose to make that contribution back, please write me an email, and we'll make sure that we can get that process started off. It's not a long process. This process can be done anything from 2 weeks to a month. So I hope you do, all the adopters in the room particularly, are the ones I'm looking at. I hope you do consider making those contributions back and thereby strengthening the Mojaloop software and adding more value to it. So away from the software, you probably have realized that the Mojaloop Foundation invests a lot of time and capacity, and a lot of time and resources to develop capacity in where Mojaloop is being built. We have programs like the Accelerator program that works with the local system integrators to develop their capacity, and you've seen many of the graduates of that program here doing some really amazing work. We have the Hub Operator Capacity Building Program, where if you're a hub operator, we can come to you and train your people on Mojaloop, go like a very, very deep dive into Mojaloop, and many other resources. I should mention, these programs are free. They are at absolute no cost to the hub operator or the potential adopter. And if you want to know more about those two specific problems, please talk to Tulo. He'd be able to advise how we can get you this program going in your jurisdiction. One resource that we have that has always been free is the Mojaloop training program. We are happy to announce the launch of 2 new courses and 2 updated courses. These are now live. The 2 courses that are brand new is Hub 204 and DFSP 204, focused on security from a Hub and DFSP perspective. Some of you in this room have already taken the courses. I've got a dashboard that tells me who has taken the courses, which is great. We do encourage system integrators in the room and hub operators to take those 2 courses. I believe Hub 204 is an hour long and DFSP 204 is an hour and a half long. So would be a nice thing to do over the weekend. We also have updated 2 courses. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Glenbrook. Elizabeth was here for a second. Her team spent some time reviewing those 2 courses, Moja 101 and Scheme 101, to update them and just make sure that they're all they're more relevant and they're updated with the terminology that we use currently, and new animations and new graphics that better explain the material that is on there. So if you've already done Moja 101 or Scheme 101, please just revisit it. There are a few sections that are updated just to get yourself up to speed with the latest and the greatest. Right. Quite happy to announce new documentation. If you go to docs.mojaloop.io, you should see a not brand new, an updated documentation structure that focuses on 4 categories. We've got community documentation, we've got business documentation, we've got technical documentation, and new for this convening and going forward, we've got brand new product documentation. So anything you're looking for within the Mojaloop ecosystem generally fits into one of those 4 categories. And so we've made it much, much easier. It's right from the homepage for you to be able to get access to the information you're looking for, whether it's community and how community operates, whether it's scheme rules or examples of scheme rules, you'll find that under business documentation, or hub operator uh, documentation for hub operators, you'll find that under the business documentation. Or if you're looking for the latest information on APIs, you'll find that under technical. Or if you're looking for the latest version of the roadmap or the history of all the Mojaloop roadmaps since they started being published, you'll find that under product. This is now live, and you can access it on docs.mojaloop.io. And we also now invite you, it's not perfect. There's a lot of information up there. And we wanted to update this to make it easier for each of you to now begin to contribute as well. So that if there are any changes in the technical, in the product, or in business, or things that you feel need to be there, resources that you feel need to be there that you might not find on the Mojaloop website, or GitHub is too confusing for you, this would be the central place where you can find all that information. And we invite you all to join us in the journey of updating that. Those of you who are already in the work streams and already contributing code, you can do so straight on GitHub. We've tried to make it as dead simple for you to do so. So please go on and make your contributions there. Every year, we run a community governance election for 3 groups. The design authority, that's responsible for doing code reviews and architectural reviews. The change control board, which is responsible for governing all our APIs, and the community council, which is the overarching representative governing council for the Mojaloop community. The design authority has a brand new charter, and the election process is already going on. We should announce new elections, new design authority officials sometime next week. Today we will open, that's a bit too small. Today we're announcing the start of the elections for the community council, the design authority, and the change control board. And that timeline gives you an idea of where we're going to go through, how we're going to go through this process. The most important thing is from today up until the end of the month, Friday, 22nd November, you can do 2 things. You can register to vote, and you can nominate or self-nominate to sit on the community council or the design authority. This coming Monday, we'll be publishing a blog post with all the information and all the relevant links and all the requirements. So please watch out for that. You can check our blog, and we'll also send it out on email and put it up on Slack. And then voting will begin from Monday, the 25th of November to Friday, the 6th of December. We hope that we will start the new year with all these officials. I want to give a huge thank you to all the people who have contributed on the design authority, on the community council, and the change control board. They have contributed to the development of Mojaloop. They have directly contributed to us having the most successful program increment, that was PI 25, in quite some time. So a huge round of applause for those folks. Thank you very much. I want to give gratitude and close this with gratitude just before I invite Paula. Paul Micken just informed us that this by far has been the most successful program increment the last 3-4 months. We've seen lots of advancements in terms of the software. I particularly want to thank adopters, primarily RSwitch and Comesa. Your input has driven a lot of the software changes that have been committed on our GitHub repository over the last couple of weeks. So thank you to your teams, as well as the system integrators you work with, primarily Wiredin, Aijane, Infitex, and a whole host of others who have contributed to a very successful program increment. And we hope that we can build on that success in the next couple of months. Right. By far, this has been one of the most engaged convenings I think we've had in quite a while. And I want to again single out the adopters in the room and other central bank leaders who have here and have continuously shown interest and asked questions about the progress we're making, even as they reflect on their own journeys and their own choices that they make. So a huge thank you to that group of people. Let's give them a quick round of applause. I want to thank the Radisson and some of our vendors and service providers. The team at the back, Numa AV, have been absolutely incredible. This is the second time we've worked with them. They have been absolutely great. We've had very minimal interruptions with slides and audio and all that stuff. So one of these days, just sit with them for a session so that you can get a sense of what they have to go through to produce this event. So for that, I'd like to thank Waigwa, Grace, Timo, Alvina, and the team. A huge thank you so much for your services. Usually, we end the convenings by giving awards for our most active community members. We won't do that today, except for one person. This one person has been of great service to the Mojaloop community for years. And they've done lots of things silently in the background, but quite crucial in maintaining the stability of Mojaloop. I want to see if you can guess who this person is. This person has been involved with Mojaloop since 2016. They were part of an initial technical working group that separately produced the Mojaloop API, one of them in the very initial days. Since then, he has continued to lead the implementation and the maintenance of the FSP IOP API and the special interest group that manages that API. And he's also a convener as part of the Change Control Board. Anyone know who that is? Yes, James. Michael.
It's Henrik from Ericsson.
Yes, that person is Henrik Carlson. Yes, a big round of applause for him. Henrik works with Ericsson, and he has been on every change control board call every week. That call happens Wednesday, 3 p.m. Kenya time. I don't know what time that is internationally. That's 12 noon, I think, UTC. And has been quite a stabilizing force in the governance of our Mojaloop APIs. So we're very grateful to Henrik for his contribution and all his time spent. Henrik just got promoted at work. I think he's now the head of product strategy or something like that at Ericsson. So if you do see him online or on Slack, please give him a thumbs up and congratulate him and thank him for his significant but often quiet contributions to the Mojaloop community. Again, a round of applause for him. Awesome. Great. I'm going to invite Paula to give her closing remarks.